All right, abusua movie bia kwaba na me for Brabega TV and platform we eso. Abusua entia me se ka eni se Yewra John Mahama adwuma na Ghana for the share nsa no oguso a oyeri gidi ne nye adwuma ketwa na owura no oba na oba besom oman Ghana obegu adwuma enei ye nyina yinim se obo nto a oka kire Ghana for se eye the ministers no eni na appointees ne omunyina embro 60 what you say ena me no ka say we issue press statement about from 30 to 23 for his ministers, cabinet ministers no. What you say omuni omo appointees ni na omuni omo way what do call it omo deputies na some ministries bia that is the ministry so and some ministries bia wa emerge aka bi hu odi bia keka bi hu na we creating one and some ministries in so awade we yi free mu ye be ko ne kwa kotie sa ansem no emu enchire mu Yewra no de wahyase a obo adwuma den na pray joy news or say Mahama restructures ministries reduced from 30 to 23 see full enti eno on joy news what you say enti yebeko na yakwa kutie joy news eniema ensema omode ekaka ho ne koba mehyase aboboso ministry bia and how was ayeno meboso na wanya the overview of it na bibiet mi akoso wano yedika aka se Mahama administration ni de oye papa ebeka oye boni ebeka nti de ebekoso ewo na aba mu bia no yenso ye de beba be sommo ewo yem platform we eso hanom eye mega TV mr also subscribe na do comment betum na like dwumadi na wahye na foforo enye bia hwe nyankopon hyira yenti nse no kekwan ya fabre koba na kaina ebeto aso.
7 ministries will no longer exist, but new ministries have also been created. President John Mahama, in an executive instrument issued on January 9, 2025, indicates the decision to reduce the numbers as he hopes to meet his campaign pledge of having just 60 ministers of states. Let's walk you through key changes in the ministerial setup, and we're going to go to a magic wall now. We'll first look at the number of ministries being 23 now, as opposed to the 30 ministries that were created by the previous government. And so we are looking at a reduction from 30 all through to 23. Now let's look at the collapsed ministries, and we're talking about the Information Ministry, the Railway Ministry, Sanitation, Chieftaincy, National Security Ministry, Public Enterprises, and Parliamentary Affairs. Of course, many are questioning really why the Information Ministry has been collapsed, and we are yet to find out, of course. And so we are looking at the merged ministries right now, which ministries have been joined together. The Chieftaincy Ministry has been joined or merged with the Local Government Ministry to form the Ministry of Local Government, Chieftaincy, and Religious Affairs as of now. We're also looking at the Works Ministry being merged with the Water Resources to form the Ministry of Works, Housing and Water Resources. Those are two merged ministries. And now let's look at the new ministries that have been formed. And sports has been separated from youth to form the Ministry of Sports and Recreation and the Ministry of Youth Development and Empowerment. And so basically, these are the new ministries that have been created. We're going to go to Zoom now and speak to our presidential correspondent, and he is going to give us some details as regards to the restructuring that has just happening by John Mahama and the presidential office. Komla, good afternoon. What more do we know about this restructuring?
Well, what we can say is to the effect that the promises made by the president on the campaign trail, mind you, he held extensive consultations with the public and stakeholders during the Building Ghana tour right before the campaign. And these agreements or suggestions were made to him. Largely, the indication we get is to the effect that the very things that he did consultations on are the things he's going to be implementing. These are not things really out of the head of just few individuals he had to group or put in a room, but these things were largely agreed on by the extensive consultations he made during the Building Ghana tour and also on the campaign trail. And so the insistence from the office of the president is to the effect that his ministers will not be more than 60. In fact, he makes the point, or he reiterated that point even yesterday at the National Thanksgiving and the prayer session held at the National Mosque, indicating that his commitment would be to the promises he made to the people. The promises could equally be taken as assurances, and he will strictly adhere to that. And so by the 14th day, which we've already started counting him down on, he would be able to put out his entire ministerial team, speaking with you right from now.
Right now, Komla, we know that vetting is slated for Monday for the first 3 nominees that he made. When can we expect the next batch of appointments, especially when many governance experts are looking forward to him to prioritize some specific ministries, specifically the education ministry?
Well, the insistence as well of the office of the president also is to the effect that yes, he has 14 days to which he promised the people of this country that he would put out his full the full complement of his list. But as Parliament is also on a break till I think somewhere on the 23rd of this month, the executive secretary to the president gives me the assurance that he will stick to the 14 days. And so between now till the 14th, Parliament would be officially communicated to on his full complement of the ministers. That's the 60 to which he is not going. He's not going to go beyond. He will stick strictly to the 60 ministers, and that he intends to hit the ground. Already, indications have been really out there that he's already running, and so he needs to keep the pace. That's what the handlers, especially from his executive secretary, who tells me that the president will stick to the 14 days and will not give any excuse whatsoever for it.
Doesn't mean that through sticking to that 60 ministers, there might be no deputies for some of these ministries?
Of course, the consideration of the 60 has to do with regional ministers who are 16, and also the new ministries from 30 to 23 that have been created. Of course, ministries like finance, you definitely will need deputies. But for some other ministries, they are likely not to have deputies at all. But we are yet to get a clearer indication as to which ministries will be having the deputies. I equally get the sense that possibly regional ministers will not have deputies, and so they are going to maintain the 16. And then if you come to the other ministries, then that one inclusive would make it the 60, as His Excellency the President has intimated.
Right, many thanks for your time. That's presidential correspondent Komla Kluche bringing us details as regards to the ministries that have been reduced from 30 to 23. But let's head to the phone lines now. Dr. Frederick Ojo-Ejakun is a governance expert. He joins us with his thoughts on this matter. Doctor, good afternoon. Have you seen the list, and does it meet your expectations?
Well, I think it's a very good step that the president has taken. And indeed, the reduction of the ministries is in line with the pledge to use only 60 ministers for that matter. So I think it is a very good point, a good start the president has begun with. And I do hope that he can go ahead and complete his list up.
Right now, the President, John Mahama, while on his campaign train, promised to reduce the ministers to 60. Now, the ministries have been reduced or cut down from 30 to 23, with some being merged. Do you think that he could have cut down the ministries further so that, it could meet that 60 number of ministers and include deputies as well? And if so, which ones do you think could have been merged further?
Sincerely speaking, he has got his vision. So it is most unfair for anyone to attempt to indicate to him how he should merge the ministry. I am only ready to hold him to the promise he made concerning having 60 ministers. And if within that number he's chosen to, merge and align some of the ministries to this point that he's going to approach 23 ministries, I am very comfortable with that, and I think it is within the pledge he's made, and I will not go as far as critiquing the ministries he's named for now. He has got his manifesto pledge for that as a country, and this is how he wants to go about it. He promised us 60 ministers. This singular action is indicated that he is seeking to abide by the pledge he's made concerning the number of ministers. So I am very comfortable with what has happened so far. And for now, I would plead that we give him the opportunity to name his ministers and see how they are going to undertake the business of government.
Right. Now, lastly, before you go, we earlier had the conversation with a presidential correspondent as to which ministries may not have probable deputies. If that's the case, if the president will go that way, which ministries do you think should, forgo the deputy angle? Right, it seems we might have lost Dr. Frederick Oduro Ejaku there, but of course we have been speaking to him on his thoughts about the mergers of some ministries, as well as the issues on the number of ministries that have been reduced from 30 through to 23. And if you can see, we have the collapsed ministries being the Information Ministry, the Railway Ministry, Sanitation, Chieftaincy, National Security Ministry, Public Enterprises, and Parliamentary Affairs. Well, Dr. Joe has joined us once again. Doctor, if you can hear me, I was earlier asking about the issue of deputies not being appointed for some ministries. If we have to stick to the 60, the number of 60 ministers as the president has promised, which ministries do you think should not have deputies if the president should stick to his lean government?
You ask which ministries may not have deputies.
Exactly so.
Wow. That is also going to be a bit of a difficulty. Of course, there are certain ministries that you realize they do have quite a number of portfolios, and they cover different entities, some of them diverse. You look at the Ministry of Finance. I would hope the Ministry of Finance may have to have at least a deputy.
Right.
If not two. But, one deputy might be helpful. If you look at a ministry like Ministry of Education, that sector is quite broad. It covers virtually every nook and cranny of the country. And education, I would be happy for education to have a deputy. Ministry of Agriculture, I would hope can have a deputy. But even I can say that if we have a ministry for fisheries and aquaculture, yes, I'm not saying it is not too broad, but it's not as broad as the agric. Comparatively, not as broad as education.
Right.
So, maybe those may inform how the president might decide. I'm being very careful here. I can't prescribe for the president.
I understand.
These might inform how the president might choose to name a deputy for a particular ministry or not. If you look at a ministry for tourism, ministry for tourism, I do concede tourism is an important area that we need to work very hard at. I'm torn whether we should have a deputy for that particular ministry.
Right.
I won't place it as far as say agric or education.
Many thanks for your time. Glad you could speak to us. Dr. Frederick Ojo Ejako is a governance expert. He's been sharing his thoughts on the number of ministries that have been reduced and whether or not we're going to have deputies in some of these ministries in order for the President, John Mahama, to maintain lean government as he has promised. But we have more stories, right, Godwin?
We will be heading to Parliament soon where the orientation is happening, but before that, it is emerging that government is yet to formally receive confirmation from the West African Gas Pipeline Company on the decision to extend its plant's maintenance. As you may be aware, the nation is racing against time to avert a possible power crisis due to inadequate availability of fuel for thermal plants. A technical team led by the Chief Staff urged WAPCO to postpone its maintenance, which was to commence on January 20. Member of Government Energy Technical Team Edward Bauer has been providing an update.
So if you take 14 days, the crude is coming and immediately you have to treat it for this. Yes. So you take the 2 weeks plus say I'm looking at the minimum, so that's about 30-something days. And meanwhile, from January 7th for January 8th that we entered into the office and saw what was happening to what do you call it? The date that they have given, that 20th of January, it's just 12, 11 days that we had. Yeah. So time is actually not on our side. Now we had a discussion. And I'm just stating the facts as they are.
Yes, please do.
I saw that media houses had said that WAPCO had given us an opportunity to extend the period. We flirted around that idea with the representative of WAPCO in that meeting, and look whether there was a possibility of extending the distance. Then they said, look, maintenance. And it's okay. They could move it to around February 3, but they still have to talk to their vendors because they are coming to do the maintenance and others, so they have to talk to them. Because sometimes if you move resources and other things to come and start something and you say suddenly you want to change it, it's a cost because you are keeping it. That's also a cost and other thing. So they are talking to their vendors to see what happens. As at Friday, which was the close of business yesterday, we had not actually gotten a formal letter to them saying that they were moving the date to.
Let's extend the conversation a little bit further. Dr. Yusuf Sulemana is an energy analyst. Doc, thank you so much for your time. You have monitored the space and the recent issues with WAPCO. What's your position regarding this?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good afternoon to you, Godwin and Judith, and to your cherished viewers in Ghana and across the globe. Thank you for having me. Indeed, we are not surprised that we are at this point. Within this platform, we've discussed this severally. And if you look at our power sector, it's not that we don't know the issues. It's just that I'm sure it's because of poor planning that has brought us to where we are. I've mentioned that we're always sitting on tenterhooks. And the reason being that there are three critical areas which are the pain areas within the power sector that we know, but we fail to do something substantial or something, proactively that could have solved that. Number one is the WAPCO. Number two is the IPPs, and then number three is Ghana Gas. These three areas, I've mentioned that if there's any hitch or glitch with respect to any of those points, we're going to have erratic power supply. And this is just one of them, WAPCO. So in this case, WAPCO is just a carrier of the gas, that comes to our utility points. And they're going to go for maintenance. It means that we don't have any proactive planning, put other mitigations or contingency measures in place. Even though these are all firefighting means that we've always been put ourselves through, but we've always suggested that there are other means that we can, embark upon so that we'll gravitate beyond this kind of firefighting mode. But even the firefighting mode, Godwin, we are not best at it. This is a case that we just woke up and we are told that we don't have fuel even to run, the spare, those power plants that can run on liquid fuel. We don't even have fuel to run that. That's quite unfortunate. Though I've not been, a supporter of that much of liquid fuel because of the huge amount of gas we have within our shore. But even that's an emergency. We've not been able to do that. So it's unfortunate. We need to take proactive steps to be able to salvage ourselves from this crisis. I don't think the populace deserve that we put them to do so. And I'm just hoping that the negotiation, the rescheduling could be done, because I'm told that this is preventive maintenance. Sorry, it's a preventive maintenance. It's not a corrective one, but still, it is very important. And I understand them. Those who have been in the industry know that delayed maintenance could land you into something even far worse than what we have now. So yes, I urge that if there's a possibility to reschedule that would be best, so that this current administration can resettle and see their way through. Otherwise, it could be a very big problem to cover over $90 million just within a month, just to get liquid base fuel to be able to make up our generation demand. But it's poor planning that has brought us to this level, Godwin.
Right, that's quite worrying to know. But we are aware that currently ECG transmission losses is over 40%. From what you said, what measures in the interim can be adopted by the incoming energy minister?
Yeah, so that's a good one. So if you look at a couple of things that we can do, and one of the areas is just ECG. ECG is one of the big points, one of the points that we lose a lot. And I've always mentioned that if you don't get ECG right, the transmission and generation, we're going to struggle. And fortunately, I've always advocated that we need to inject some bit of efficiency into ECG. ECG need two things: capital injection and efficiency. And I think they can go along with. These two things can be combined. I've heard the president talked about going back to reactivate the Millennium, deal. Millennium Challenge, deal that was on the table, famously called the PDS deal, that got flawed and was revoked. If that can be reactivated, I think that will solve these two problems that I'm talking about. Beyond that, we just, even without any capital injection, if we put our ass together and become very efficient and minimize the losses, because no business can survive with over more than 30% losses, as
absolutely
we have now, both technical and then the commercial losses. So right. Yes, if you can privatization would be the way to go, actually, to inject efficiency and some bit of fresh capital to be able to rejuvenate and revitalize ECG, to be able to meet their core mandates.
Right. Thank you so much for allowing us understand this better. Dr. Yusuf Suleimana is an energy analyst. If you are unfamiliar with all the talk about a possible energy crisis, my colleague Judith Brown has been explaining further. Take a look.
All right. Thank you very much. For credit, Emma Joy News. Joy News. And I'm a yensa itimi ekansa information we ebi. Entina chese urano ebo adwuma papa na quick one mempese mekasa ache yenko na yenhwe the minister. See, President John Mahama has issued an executive instrument to restructure and establish new ministries within the civil service. Also, the civil service ministry instrument 2025 was signed on January 9th, 2025 under the authority granted by Section 11 Clause 3 of the Civil Service Act 1993 PNDC Law 327. What you say? Also, the instrument outlined the establishment of 23 ministries, a reduction from the previous 30, reflecting a focus on sustainability, innovation, and youth empowerment. Notably, the Ministry of Energy has been rebranded as the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, signaling a strong commitment to renewable energy and environmental conservation. And you see, the following ministries in the civil service are hereby established. 1. Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Health, Ministry of the Interior, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, Ministry of Roads and Highways, Ministry of Transport, and Ministry of Sports and Recreation, Office of the Attorney General, and Ministry of Justice. Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, Ministry of Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Communications, Digitalization and Technology and Innovations. Ministry of Communications, Digital, Technology and what? Innovations. And we have Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology. Okay. And Ministry of Youth Development and Empowerment. Ministry of Works, Housing and Water Resources. Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Creative Act. Ministry of Labor, Jobs and what? Employment. Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture. Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and what? Industry. These are the 23 restructure ministries John Mahama watimi accurate. And a quick one middle form, no, that is it. You so Kwame Ebojuma Kwame Ashasi to Niema Quatiasia and do here a empire bo any in crop for now obey your mono because nipa ba kwana se nkofua mama akufado fairly pa ministers no and the family members are omo appointment no akufado aban kwa more than 30 family members and no more enti ne ye medani se Muhammad ye onko yese yakonta ene ye president enti ye gina so na ya eden yamano appointment bi ti se abu akondin di sen Abu Ramadan akoye ko bubu Jojo Tibonsu ni dani tubu ye Samira ni nuano dinu no Abu Ramadan we na nanado mo appointment adenya Samira na yi bawumia kontadi Abu Ramadan Samira nua bi ma enti susuampa ase ye de oman hye wonsa na oye na tribal oye no favoritism nepotism oye no family and friends. How can you develop the country? Empo ye di dwumadi bi hye wonsa na se dipa no open ase sanse open ase minti aman da appointment no. How can you access the person? How can you correct the person from his mistakes? Even when oya DM fata, how can you fire the person? So these are the things Emma Akufo-Addo aban anye successful. We are what? We are encouraging and we are entreating the MTC people not to what? To also repeat the same. And I know that this time around, John Mahama, the president, he has learned a lot in his past. He has learned a lot. Oko position no, we know say we sua de bebre, we hu said ye sebi, obetina ban mu a usi ye wo ho, wo position a said the nemasiko. We are convinced he is not going to tolerate that because ye ma kwan e magana japade okwabnani bi emfa enye ne de okokanso a na akoye asem kinufurata. Do you know why internet kinufurata ye papa Akufo-Addo ombese no be in firo? Do you know why? Kinufurata was having a big share in Akufo-Addo's campaign. Kinufurata ma Akufo-Addo sika bebre to mfanye campaign in 2016. Oba power ordina ko share the darling appointment, that is the finance ministry ho. Na wetimi anya akonya no aiden sika ni bi. Inti apart from say Kinufurata na oye Akufo-Addo ne cousin no. Omani sika se omfanye campaign se be ya ono so ba power obetimi aboa no. That is why we a politician, especially the presidential aspirant, na wuni sika yanko bobo senfiro bi honom enka se medi be campaign na meweni a me de me mama appointment e basa nipa no odi that appointment ni de mana odi nsehunu sebi oye ne mafo esan se oboa ma wonsu nye sika bi e wo baabi no ana wo hia pa nti no it will be very difficult and tough for you to what? To criticize that person. And I say, not even criticize, to tell him, say, what you're doing at this ministry, it is not in line with the rules and the guidelines. I don't know whether you get my point. And you know, Ebemana is so tough, difficult for you to what? To tell the person that they are way and end to adhere to rules and regulations because no nim say wa boa onu nim say o musika. For example, Mahama Ebay na ni nua Ibrahim Mahama amani sika twitwi die se me die bob sia what you say nti uwia na wa appointment. Let me tell you, Ghana for the appointment Mahama the appointment ni emma ni nua Ibrahim Mahama sisia Ghana for talk and nobody knows. Say Sikano the man will be anymore. But Ghana for be kasa. Just like in Furata de na ye kasa ya to the extent say ono kasa omo kasa omo MPC binum ye omo adwin say no, this is enough. Enough is enough. We are no more going to tolerate it. If you didn't take off King Furata from this ministry, we are going to do demonstration. And you know, politicians, you know, and politics sometimes it is very dicey and sometimes it is very tricky. What do you say? Oh, as me see mo sika se me fanye campaign we die manya fast me wia me de ne be hye ho no nipa no be hye ho no ma woni ma adwempo identity although he could be your family member but ono so ba sika no de ma no he is expecting or he or she is expecting more than that. Nti no chance so di sika wo e no se wudi. Nti wo ba aban mu a ehia se wo be ye wo do family members ebe wurem because abasa nipa ne ya de bonia. It is difficult for you to what? Tell the person say the would enje. Nti no ena a contribute a lot to Akufado's unsuccessful governance. And can I papa Akufado webo adwuma oh nanka ura ne bebo adwuma papa Akufado in person no sometimes ohwe nanka obeye good kakra but for those around him or omoye the family members anti be there too amakwata that road minister bi na oyenya na furu say brass band and some who say amakwata yes any sa akwa we din say ata achia no sa nkofo no you see sa nkofo no mo eno mo na futu bone. These are the people they advised him badly and no enema Akufado eteni nechi edema Ghana for I do baby anon for Ghana for ndehwia otimi kasa ha ope otimi ba wahin fe instruct say masa get up you are nobody greet me otimi hwe say ohin bi me hwe andra video bi oye so chia no to no Akufado atwene nsantente no oye si me utipen ni me get up na waso hu you say bi enyefe otifi ne wo hwe say video ya wonu ho sa ohin we. In fact, wo ye dwumadie na so invite wa okona ote ho a obeka so insurance wa chia nana ohini we ukoto no baby ai na wa ye former president na ote ho no ma obeka chia ni say owura sorry ansama chia no you can't. Enti de bia na me wasem bia meka say politicians go politicians come but I am for no de bia mutim hoda because they are the what the custodians of our land. But sometimes na yana ahemfo so omuka ho bi because okoton na adwin bi te say galamse nsensem ye ko so ahemfo bebre di mu akotin. They turn their conscience to to the politician. Na politicians na fe die omu so relevant bi omu so mu useless. Anyhow anywhere bia no otimi ye o say the opotimi keka na adwin kirew otimi treat say the ope. Nti no ena ama Akufado aban ankoso no nti wo pe factors pa the strongest factors are ama Akufado aban anko nenima the ministers no the ministry no nkofo de omo hihye ho ono an nkrofo agi omo di ono an nkrofo a ogi sika fi omo honom the campaign in 2016 our winning power no. Those are the people they led him down. Those are the people they made him fail big time. Omo no mumani fail big time. What I say? Those are the people omo mani fail big time. And you know, that is it. That is it. Absolutely, that is it. And you are John Mahama Mahama obey dear. Yempe ye papa ye mami ye nwa bi ma ya or ye president. Sa family matter free. Once upon a time, Kennedy Japan said, if you want your business to grow, just take them from what? Your family. Member family member bi amfa adwuma bi anhye ne nsa because wo di hye ne nsa obeye adwuma ne basa untimi nkoka wo kan so a ono obenya ntokwa obi tinkin obeka se unua obra obusuani na ne yesi what I say in order to make it nicely and make it viable for people to see say adwuma wi waye no, just take your family people away from your business or a presidential for film. Who private business afasho munsa eno de omu se na wa wadwuma but o manager pade de em fa nko hye obusu ni bia nsa in the name of say me president maba enti me be amoma kai bo mia be ba be ma ho atowo he sa asane de emi fi bo mia e bi fitu meba ofi na wa wasebi. So that is the fact. Enti ye bompaye ohwe Kwame said ye was start ya Kwame bebo adwuma ye papa Oluman bebo adwuma nti Oluman ye hwe se obetimi abo adwuma no na because no nti Ghana for omoto abade mo nti Ghana for to aba ede ma wo sebi Ghana for to aba ma wo se kona koye den kotena dwubiri house won de bia no panum tin su ye sei na masa ye to abade ma wa na wa hyase awo ye. So work and let Ghanaians know say we have voted for somebody who we believe in, somebody who can take this country to different level, somebody who can reset this country. Enti Nyankopon enhyira John eni Jane na omo kwatenten na hodin yintimi Ghana ontimi mfa Ghana omo mfa Ghana enkosi de boshe asase no so na bibia ntimi enkoso. Nyankopon hyira media na mega mesro so be subscribe na like idwodi na wa share na foforo enyi bia hwe makro bibia bye bye.